Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex, back with my monthly video on the best board game expansions hitting retail. Retail is online marketplaces, publishers' websites, friendly local game stores, basically any place you can go out and get them easily and immediately. But who needs a long introduction when we have a lot of great games, so let's get into it. AEG is releasing Smash Up Excellent Movie Dudes. If you haven't played Smash Up before, it's an asymmetric game. Everybody has different character decks, and those character decks are themed to something. Zombies, princesses, Marvel superheroes. There's a ton of different things, and they all play a little bit differently, but you are playing cards fighting for control of these locations. And one of the best parts about Smash Up is that you can mix and match a bunch of stuff. You can have zombies fighting princesses, you can have zombies fighting Marvel superheroes, and kind of everything in between. So this new expansion, Smash Up Excellent Movie Dudes, brings back the characters from 80s cinema, and they do it as close as they can to without getting copyright infringement. So this is like RoboCop's cousin, you know? This is looks like RoboCop, but not exactly like RoboCop. This is Ghostbusters, but is it the Ghostbusters? It's not Bill Murray. It's Bill Blurry, you know? Is that kind of him? Maybe. And so if you like 80s movies, this brings back all of those theme stuff. You can play with 80s fun characters that you kind of recognize in your Smash Up games. So, fun to add a lot of those things into it. Asmodee and Awakened Realms are releasing a bunch of expansions to the Lords of Ragnarok game. So, oftentimes expansions come out years or months after the fact, after the base game comes out, because it's sort of a way to reinvigorize interest into the game, right? Oh, you haven't played that in a while, now you're back in because there's a new expansion. But more and more I am seeing games releasing and their expansions releasing at the same time. So Lords of Ragnarok was actually in my best new games coming to retail video. It just released this month to retail. It is a successor to Lords of Hellas. Not the exact same game, but uses some of the same mechanisms as Lords of Hellas. It is a big, miniatures game where you are moving around and fighting on a big board, and you're controlling an army of miniatures, and every army has asymmetric characteristics to it. If you want to hear more about it, you can definitely go to my best new games coming to retail video, but they are releasing a ton of expansions to it. There's enhanced runes, there's a monster variety pack to add more monsters. There are all the stretch goals are in a campaign. So the Lords of Ragnarok stretch goals expansion contains all of the game found stretch goals. So that's going to be monuments. There are new monsters in it. There are a Kraken model, a Huldra model. There's advanced solo components. There are there's fifth player army models and components. A ton of extra cards. Literally everything that was extra in the Kickstarter campaign, you can buy independently of the Kickstarter campaign if you want to get the Lords of Ragnarok stretch goals expansion. So you can get all the stuff if you missed the campaign. There's also Lords of Ragnarok Seas of Aegir. This introduces Snekker ships. I probably am not saying that right, but that's what I'm going with. Each player will receive 4 boats and will be able to put them on the board in the spot with their Drakkar and then move them on the same rules as their Drakkar. So, if you want to add ships to your game, you can do that here with this expansion. Another one of the expansions is the Terrain expansion. This adds high quality models of temples, settlements, mythic realms. It's just a cosmetic expansion, but if you want to upgrade the look of an already great-looking game, you can get all of these terrain expansions. They're also releasing Lords of Ragnarok Utgard, Realms of the Giants. This it adds ice giants to the game. Utgard will replace Jotunheim, and you're introducing these ice giants to the game where players can make alliances and will be able to recruit them into their armies, and they give you significant bonuses and strength and stuff. So, and the big miniatures look cool. It's hard to call them miniatures when they're so big, you know, and I guess they're miniatures. They're not as big as real people, you know. There's not as big as these real monsters would be in real life. So, yeah, I guess they're miniatures, but they're huge. They are huge miniatures. They're also releasing Lords of Ragnarok Valkyrie Hero. So this adds an additional Valkyrie hero with a high-quality miniature and hero board, including special rules. So again, just a ton of content for the Lords of Ragnarok game. If you are excited about the game, then check all of these expansions out because they're adding a lot more content and a lot more replayability to your game. Elf Creek Games is releasing Atlantis Rising Monstrosities. Atlantis Rising is one of the best strategic cooperative games. A lot of cooperative games are, you know, on the lighter, more family weight side because they're easier to bring in new people to the world of board games. Well, Atlantis Rising is a worker placement, you know, fairly strategic cooperative game. It's not one that I would just like play with my mom. And you are working, you're getting resources and working to build this cosmic gate before the city of Atlantis sinks into the sea. And literally, one of the coolest things about the base game is you are flipping over tiles and it's literally sinking. Well, so in this expansion for Atlantis Rising, there are new monsters in the game that you have to deal with, new allies that you can recruit to help you win the game, magical items, new locations. So some of the type of monsters that are in the game, you know, you might imagine that there are monsters in the game considering it is called Monstrosities. We've got Medusa in it, and she's turning your Atlanteans to stone, so you have to break her curse. We've got the Harpies layer, they're stealing resources and workers you need in the game. You've got some other ones that are dooming sailors, and so you have to calm the waters around the island of Atlantis. So just a lot more challenges that you have to deal with in the game. One of the other reasons I liked Atlantis Rising is it was a 1 to 7 player game, and so, you know, a strategic game you could play with more people, which was cool. And this still maintains that 1 to 7 players, 60 to 120 minutes. So more content for Atlantis Rising. Gale Force 9 is releasing a couple of expansions to Star Trek Away Missions. This Star Trek Away Missions is another game that hit retail for the first time this month. It is a Star Trek Away Missions is a miniatures 2-player game where you are leading your own parties to complete missions, conduct espionage, fight glorious battles, but in the base game, you could play as the Federation or the Borgs. Those were the only 2 factions that came in the game. So again, miniatures game where you are fighting each other and moving around and going on missions. So now there's 2 new expansions right now, which just adds new factions and new characters you can play as. You know, asymmetric factions have their own miniatures, have their own rules set. So one of them is Commander Sella Romulan expansion. This adds Romulans to the game, and the Romulans are, you know, always trying to learn more intel on their foes, trying to probe their weaknesses and their strengths so they can defeat them. And the other one, it's adding Chancellor Goron's Klingon expansion. And if you're a fan of Star Trek, you know that Klingons are warriors and they're super tough and they want to fight all the time. And so now you can play as Klingons in the game. So if you're looking for a 2-player game set in the Star Trek world, check out Star Trek Away Missions, and now you have more factions to play as to sort of increase the replayability for yourself. Flat River Group and Greater Than Games are releasing Spirit Island Nature Incarnate. Spirit Island is a heavy cooperative game. We were just talking about how Atlantis Rising is, a little bit more of a strategic cooperative game. Well, Spirit Island is even more so. It is even heavier of a gameplay, strategic, than Atlantis Rising. So in Spirit Island, the base game, one of the cool things was there's been a lot of games in board games over the history of the hobby that where you're playing as the colonizers and you are taking over new lands. Well, this flips that on its head. Spirit Island, you are playing as spirits of the island trying to fight off colonizers, trying to keep them off of your shores so you can maintain your pristine island. And all of the spirits sort of had asymmetric abilities, they played differently, so there was a lot of replayability in that sense. Well, Spirit Island Nature Incarnate introduces 8 new spirits to the game. So if you've learned all the sort of asymmetric abilities of your base game spirits, well, here are a bunch of new spirits to play as. It also introduces 20 new aspects and a bunch more to the game. So 1 to 6 players, and it is that heavyweight cooperative game. So, the main thing is adding those new spirits to the game. So if you want to explore new ways to play Spirit Island, then check out Nature Incarnate. Rebel Studios and Asmodee are releasing Chronicles of Avel New Adventures. So Chronicles of Avel is a game that actually made my top 10 games of the year last year, 2022. It was one of my favorite cooperative games of the year. And it's not, it wasn't a game, I like to call it a summer blockbuster type of game, right? It's a game that's not really doing anything crazy different, but the package just comes together so well, and it's really fun. It's a modular board, and you are moving around the board, fighting monsters, you're rolling dice, but you're upgrading your character a bunch. You can get new weapons, new shields, you can get new dice to add to your pool, all of that sort of stuff, and then it's just roll dice and fight some monsters. So it's just fun all of the time. So New Adventures, this new expansion, it introduces 3 thematic scenarios which can be played separately or as a campaign. So there was no scenarios in the base game. It was just, you could do different setups with the modular board, but then you're just trying to fight monsters. So this is adding 3 scenarios, and it's also adding 3 modules that can be used in different combinations to create personalized challenges. So if you want a little bit more story in your game, if you want some ramp up to Chronicles of Avel instead of just the sort of run around and fight monsters, this is a way to do it. There's new tiles, new equipment, new monsters, new beast. So they say it will be much more immersive. With the story that is added to this, it's a much more immersive experience. So if you like dice rolling, if you like fighting monsters, check out Chronicles of Avel for sure. Renegade Game Studios is releasing Power Rangers Deck Building Expander. Whoa, I really messed that one up. Power Rangers Deck Building Game Shattered Grid Expansion. So, to be fair, there was a lot of words in that title, all right? It gave me a lot of opportunity to mess up one of them. So this is from their thematic Power Rangers deck building game. So there's a lot of expansions that come out to their deck building games all the time, and they add cards. There are more cards in the game. This is no different, but it is adding stuff from the Shattered Grid storyline involving alternate universes, strange visitors, time travel. I'm a real sucker for time travel stuff. I love anything time travel. I will watch anything that has time travel in it. And so this is the most exciting expansion that's ever existed for Power Rangers because it's adding time travel. and I like time travel. So Power Rangers must, from across the eras, must team up to stop Lord Draken. So if you like Power Rangers or you like deck building games, check that one out. Slugfest Games is releasing the Red Dragon Inn Battle for Greyport Chaos in Copperforge expansion. So the Red Dragon Inn Battle for Greyport is a game that came out 5-6 years ago probably, but the Red Dragon Inn is what Slugfest Games is most well known for in the game. It's a light game where you are just in a pub drinking after the adventures. Well, Battle for Greyport was one of those adventures. It was a full battle, and you were taking the characters from the Red Dragon Inn and putting them in this battle, and it was a cooperative deck building game, so you were all working together to make your own individual deck stronger so that you could fight bad guys and save different locations. So in this expansion, the Chaos in Copperforge expansion, you'll be able to protect the landmarks of a whole new city, halt a train heist, and KO steampunk-flavored mecha pilots. There's new scenarios, new bosses, new locations, new monsters, all part of the package. So if you like deck building games, there's also 8 new playable heroes that come to the game in this expansion. So one of the fun things of just the Red Dragon Inn series, there's a lot of games in the Red Dragon Inn, they add a bunch of new characters, and all the characters have sort of their own different rules, but it's fun exploring the different characters, and this is taking a bunch of those characters and putting them in battle. They're not celebrating at the pub afterwards, they are actually fighting in a battle. So the Slugfest Games also released Tales of the Red Dragon in the best new games coming to retail this month, and that was a dungeon crawl. So that was also taking the heroes and putting them in a dungeon crawl. This takes the heroes and puts them in a deck building combat game. So if you like deck building, check out Chaos in Copperforge. Studio H, as well in association with Hachette, are releasing 2 expansions to Northgard. Northgard was a sort of 4X lighter game. You are moving around, you're exploring tiles, revealing new tiles, doing combat, fun game from Studio H, and it was based on the Northgard video game. Well, I believe these are the first 2 expansions for Northgard because it just came out last year. One of the expansions is Warchiefs. This optional module reinforces the asymmetry between the clans in the game, as each one is granted a new character with a unique ability to lead them, represented by a special miniature. So yeah, if you can also they've got new clan upgrade cards that can be integrated in your core game without requiring the content, the materials from the Warchiefs module, but it's about adding these asymmetric leaders represented by miniatures. And the other one is Northgard Wilderness, and this contains additional creatures for the creatures module and rules for a whole new module, Environment Tiles. This module reinforces the variety of the landscapes, adding a set of special tiles to the map. So, as I mentioned, it was Northgard, you're revealing new tiles, so that's one of the things that keeps the game replayable, because the board is going to be different all the time with these tiles. And so this is adding even more tiles to the game so that you can add to your map. So if you're a fan of Northgard, check out Warchiefs and Wilderness. And then lastly, the Op is releasing a new expansion to Disney Sorcerer Arena Epic Alliances. This one is called At the Ready. So Disney Sorcerer's Arena Epic Alliances is a mostly 2-player game. You can play it in teams, but it's really meant for 2 players. And you have asymmetric characters. You're moving around this arena board and just fighting each other. And they're all Disney characters that you know and love. So there's been a bunch of expansions to Epic Alliances, and all of them are adding new Disney characters with, again, their own special decks of cards and their own special abilities. This adds Robin Hood, Miss Potts, and Mulan to the game. So if you like two-player games, if you like asymmetric abilities, if you like combat, you know, and it's not like this is a lighter game that you can get into with, you know, most people. It's not crazy hard to wrap your head around, but it plays quickly and you're just running around the arena and hitting your opponents with your Disney characters. So I like all these characters too: Robin Hood, Miss Potts, and Mulan. So there's a lot of expansions to At the Ready that all add different Disney characters, and that's it. So I hope you found something that you like. I enjoy doing these videos because everybody always finds different games that they like. You know, I love the variety of stuff that's coming out every month because there's something for everybody here, you know? Something for family players, for light players, for heavy players, all and everything in between. So thanks so much for liking and subscribing. I appreciate you sharing these videos with people so other people can find out games that are coming to stores near them. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Hope you're doing well out there.